What's up?
How you doing?
All right. So, of course, I forgot to do literally the first thing that I wanted to do. Everything else is done, but I forgot to add the card to any of the slides, I think. So I'm just going to have fun with it. We're going to have to open this. Okay, there we go. We can just stream right to this, right? Because we're going to start with this thing, obviously. Let's see. Learning on the fly here. Window, boom. We're doing this. Here we go. So yeah.
I see it.
We're gonna leave that there for a second. But welcome back to the Into the Unknown podcast. Dan and Scott here once again live hanging out with everybody. And Scott, we've had another big week of reveals. The one that was just on the screen is probably the biggest since the last Tinkerbell, right? I mean, let's be real. But been a fun week. Been some flavorful things. But let's just put it right back on screen, right? So like this card just came out hours ago, and it's insane. So I'm just gonna take it to you, Scott, because I found it first, and I got to even tease you because you didn't even realize it was a song yet. So like once you realized it was a song, then how did you feel about this card?
That it's amazing. I thought it was good when it wasn't a song.
Right.
I thought it was fair and good when it wasn't a song.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we are reaching a critical mass of uninkables for your deck, but I fail to see how you can't find room for first of all, song should probably be front and center in most decks, because a lot of times they're just free. So it's just at the cost of exerting a character, and usually it's going to be exerting a character that either like you want them to challenge because you want to be able to challenge back into them, or it's not that big of a deal if they're taken out because the character still deals damage back and you still gain this effect without setting your turn back like pretty much 100%. Right. So I mean, with this costing 5 or somewhere to let it go, I mean, like that would pretty much be your whole turn. Like even if you had like 8 ink in play, it's still most of your turn. So the fact that you can, and similar to let it go, the fact that you can play this for free by exerting a character is just it's just insane. And I honestly, like, if this was just like a fire the cannons for exerting
just an action,
right? Just exerting the character and taking out one character for 2 damage.
Yeah,
it'd be one thing. If this dealt 2 damage to the entire board, I still think it would be great. Yeah. But now you have 2 damage to just their side of the board.
Yeah.
Combined with Tinkerbell in the same ink color. Like, yeah. I mean, Stitch Rockstar, rest in peace, as of July 11th, 2023. I mean, like, that's all there is to it.
Give me some tear faces in the chat for the Stitch Rockstar, because, yeah, I mean, so, like, it can exist, right? Maybe. I don't even know if I can say that fairly. Like, there's still a lot of premise to the concept of, well, I can play my Stitch, and I can be more conservative, and I can attempt to put my opponent in a position to make his grab the sword unfavorable or make his Tinkerbell unfavorable. But yeah, I don't see it yet. It's definitely going to be something we'll have to play the next couple of days and get a true like sight for. But yeah, I mean, shout out to that fact. The grab the swords is monstrous in multiplayer because it's just mean for all sense of the word. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Like, these 2 cards they're just incredible. And I am beyond excited to see like what other songs we're gonna get. I mean, if like we thought Friends was gonna be by far the best, and it's like this card's unbelievable. Not to take anything away from Friends, because Friends is still a very playable card, but I mean, yeah, this is monstrous, like absolutely monstrous.
So I remember if you have to go back on one of our chats like months ago, but we had talked about what AoE would look like, and I think I said a 5-cost ruby uninkable that would deal 2 damage to the entire board.
Yeah.
Where I would put an AoE, and this is 5-cost uninkable, different color. Who cares? Song.
Yeah, just your opponents.
So
yeah,
it's better than I would have even envisioned this being. To be honest with you,
it was really funny because like when I posted in our chat, and then you saw that it was a song, you're like, it's a song. It's just like you're like, what? Like, yeah, it was definitely one of those moments where like, yeah, it's a song. It's pretty crazy. So
yeah,
but yeah, we wanted to kick off things, just giving you our hot take thoughts on Grab the Sword. But we're gonna have a little bit of fun this week. We're gonna do something a little different, and we're welcoming everyone to the Forbidden Mountain. If you are hanging out live, hit me up in the comments. Let me know you guys are here. And this week I compiled a list of questions that I'm going to ask technically Scott, but really it's for both of us to answer. And we've had some Twitter comments, and I'm not sure if there's anything on Discord, but I'll definitely check as we go in and enjoy. But let's get into it. I didn't even show Scott the slides yet. There's some nice little Easter eggs. I made slides, bro. I'm prepared. All right. And there's some nice little Easter eggs for along the way. So, Scott, what year and with what game did you first get into trading card games?
Magic the Gathering in 1990. I think it was 94, but it might have been 93.
Well, this card's from 93, but that's besides the point.
I actually saw it at a convention in 1992 when I went to go play old school BattleTech, which I saw at Target come back the other day, by the way.
Old school? Sure.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Like the mini one that you played on like the map.
And, yeah. Okay.
And D&D at a convention.
Mind you, I was like 3 years old, but
yeah, at a convention in Scranton or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It's my first gaming convention that I ever went to.
Okay.
And we were so obsessed with by a play-by email game. There wasn't even email yet. Play-by mail game that was there on a LAN. Like, I guess it was a LAN. I don't even know if they existed back then.
Yeah.
And like, I walked in the dealer hall, and this guy's like, "Hey, kid, you want to try this card game?" I'm like, "I don't have time to play this stupid card game." Yeah, that's a very smart idea by me. So then, like, less than a year later, I actually started playing full-on Magic.
The dogs are here. You're showing your age, Scott. So yeah, for me, it was a little bit later than that. I think it was closer to like 97. That would have been around when I got into Pokemon, because I remember being an avid Pokemon fan. So I remember like every kid my age, I grabbed Pokemon cards. Look, there's the Sarah Angel, guys. Look, right, we'll bring it back up for you. There it is. Look, see, I knew that he was going to bring the Sarah Angel out. This is why I picked that image in general. Yeah, but no. So for me, it's Pokemon for sure. Hold on. One more time, Scott. Go back to that. He's got a whole playset of them. Yeah, he's obsessed. He's obsessed, guys. But yeah, for me, it was Pokemon for like a brief period of time. I don't even think I actually played the game correctly until the video game that came out for it, which was a great video game back in the day. The Pokemon trading card game for like Game Boy Advance, maybe. I don't even know. And then I got very quickly into Yu-Gi-Oh after that. But even those two phases were like maybe an 18-month phase, and then it was Magic. So It wasn't a very long phase. There was just like hey, I'm into cartoon anime because I'm like 11, and that's not even 11. I was like 8 or 9 probably. But yeah, Magic wasn't too. It was definitely not far after that. So
I was out of college when Yu-Gi-Oh came out.
What?
I was out of college when Yu-Gi-Oh came out.
Yeah, you're much older than I am, Scott. We can keep going for this if you want, but
it's fine.
All right. So, who is someone you can attribute to getting you into trading card games?
I mean, I got everybody else into Magic, so
okay. Then.
Getting me into it, honestly, probably no one. Like, it was just because we were all playing D&D at the time.
You were that guy. Gotcha.
Yeah, I was the guy that got my other like high school friends into it. So I don't think, I mean, other than my high school friends that like, including John Palmer, who we still hang out with,
Palmer,
like,
shout out
that stayed around, but I was definitely the one that like was more hardcore about like playing and like running to every Allied Hobbies I could find to try to buy packs and like pre-ordering from War Games West Legends boosters and things like that. So yeah.
Things I've never heard of. Got it.
Game companies you never heard of that I don't think exist anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Allied Hobbies.
Yeah,
that's familiar.
Yeah,
the rest of it, no. So I don't know. I actually don't really like remember the origin. I just remember like going to Target or something and like just seeing Pokemon or whatever. But what I do remember vividly is like right around the end of my Yu-Gi-Oh era. Shout out to my buddy Rich coming to Gen Con with us. He literally, I didn't even know him, right? Like didn't even know him, but he knocked on my door because he knew where I lived because a friend from school that we went to, he was in 8th grade, I was in 7th grade, told him where I lived so he could come to my house so we could play Yu-Gi-Oh together. I swear to God, like this is a real story. Like I can't even. I
just showed up.
He just knocked on my door and said, "Hey, is your name Dan?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Do you play Yu-Gi-Oh?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you want to play some Yu-Gi-Oh?" And I'm like, "Okay." I swear to God. But yeah, Rich was the one who got me into Yu-Gi-Oh, and then much later on got me into World of Warcraft also. So I have to attribute a lot of my card game love to Rich. He definitely pushed me to getting into the card game things. Back to stream. So
Edwin Van Cleve did not get me into it.
What?
Edwin Van Cleve did not get me into it.
No, Edwin Van Cleve did not. No. So which TCG in your lifetime was your favorite? I think we've played a lot, Scott, right? I mean, like we've played even in the time that we've known each other, we played a lot of games. So what which one can you think is definitely your true love?
World of Warcraft is my favorite, no doubt. It's the one I don't know that I did the best at because I did really well at Transformers, but it's the one I traveled the farthest for, and it's the one that it wasn't my initiation into working for a game company doing content.
Right.
I technically wrote for WotC before I wrote for Cryptozoic and Upper Deck and Blizzard.
Right.
I wrote for the their Star Wars card game that they had with like the dice and stuff, like around episode 3 that came out. So I wrote a few articles for that when they actually still cared about that game, which wasn't much. But like that's where I really got into like analyzing card games and writing for them and doing, I guess you would call it doing content. Like there was no YouTube back then. There was no like any of that. So like there was a lot of writing. So both like on both sides of the field, like both sides of the coin, I was involved in World of Warcraft. So that's like why I have a lot of memories about that.
Yeah. I remember playing Magic. Like literally, I used to drive on a bus 90 minutes after school to play FNMs, and I liked it a bunch. It definitely was like a real fun time. I mean, a group of us from all different high schools would all meet at like the same, for anyone in the Philadelphia area, like Cottman and Roosevelt Boulevard, and then we just take all the way up to Willow Grove as 15-year-old kids. I don't even think our parents even knew how far we were actually traveling on Friday nights. But
what's the
What's
Brave New
Worlds?
Oh, I thought you went to
old Brave New Worlds.
Okay.
Yeah, old Brave New Worlds. Like near the Burger King and stuff. Like the Willow Grove Mall. So yeah, like it was definitely a commute, but I remember growing incredibly frustrated with Magic the Gathering, like just so very, very frustrated. And I was still young, so like I wasn't like traveling heavily. Like I was a successful like local player. I like by my standards at that point, I would win FNMs. Brave New World was a pretty big event. I mean, we had players that were top 4 nationals that played there. Anyone knows Coswell, I believe his name was. Guy with glasses. He invented the Chittering Rats combo deck. He's a very, really good player. So we had a high level of competition there. So I think that's really like where my competitiveness like truly started, was because even at like this local F&M, it was like, all right, like you got to bring your A game to be good. But I'll never forget learning World of Warcraft, finding somewhere to play, because for me, we talked about this last time, like Philadelphia just like doesn't have a lot of play, like a lot of game stores that play. Like we don't have really local game stores. So like the closest game for me, or closest store for me, was like all the way up in like Levittown, and it was not even a full store. It was like, hey, we only run tournaments on Saturdays because we rent this building. So like it was a lot of hoops. But like because of that, I met some of my best friends in life now, with Ziggy and Will and Brian and things like that. And that game just like molded almost. It was like the barrier between like kid and adult almost.
Yeah, sure.
And that's how we eventually met and things like that. So I think that without a doubt, World of Warcraft was just such a phenomenal game. The game was so good. The game was, very, very skill intensive. And like you said, so like ironically, YouTube did exist then, but it was so very unknown at the time. But like, man, would it have been a time to like really capitalize on things then? But it's a whole other rabbit hole. But the point is that like that game was so good, and it had so many great memories, and I can't ever get past. It took me a long time to really find another game after that. Like, yeah, we bounced around and we played other things, and for a hop, skip, and a jump, but nothing that like stuck, or nothing that felt like home, all the way until Transformers. So, it was a great game, and it was, for us, we wouldn't be here today without it. So
yeah,
there is that.
Totally.
All right, so this is an easy one for me, but what is your most memorable moment in your TCG career, Scott?
Most memorable? I think it was making top 4 at the Dark Moon Fair in Philadelphia.
Nice.
For World of Warcraft.
That was a really good. I was exciting
because it was.
This is my wife, everyone. Just so we're clear, she's just busting my balls.
Because it was local, and like I had literally written an article like that week about like things you can do in Philadelphia, like expecting to show people around, and like
Reading Terminal.
Yeah, and a buddy of mine who doesn't play. I don't think he plays card games anymore. I haven't talked to him in a while. Like it was a block format, and so like obviously.
We played
the decks are out. The metagame is like very
out of this. We had the best deck in the room.
It's like very insular. So like we're just like how do we beat this? And then like I'm like, wait a minute, there's like besides the sets in the block, like these class starters are also legal, and it's like some reprint cards, and I'm like, oh, let's play this because this is like let's just put a bunch of these things together, and like the deck was like insane, and people were like, I can't believe you're beating me with this thing, and so like that was one of the first times where I felt like as a deck designer and player, I was successful in a card game as opposed to just one or the other.
Yeah. And like just to speak to that deck, you were top 4, Anthony was top 8, and I started the event 5-0 and finished 9th because I had a hell of a late game. But yeah, so there was three of the exact same copies of that list in the top 9 decks in the event, and it was a pretty large DMF if I remember correctly. It was definitely over 100 players.
It was over 200 players, I'm sure.
I think it was large. I remember that. So, but it was cool because it was like a real team. Like the whole team did really really well that weekend. The deck was awesome, but that Hunter deck did absolutely shit on it. So shout out to Dan Clark.
He beat me in the top 4.
What?
He beat me in the top.
He beat Anthony too. So yeah, he went to town. But yeah, that was a fun weekend. Definitely, I have to agree with that. For me, it's right on screen here. I can't get any better than winning the biggest tournament you possibly can for a particular event. and this was the Transformers trading card game World Championships. It was called the Energon Invitational. We worked, so incredibly hard, for that accomplishment. Unfortunately, it was flip side. Scott finished 9th in that event.
Great. It's a great drive home, let me tell you.
It's a great drive home. But yeah, it was like one of those moments where, RIP Transformers, exactly. Shout out. It was definitely one of those moments where it didn't even really click until like days later that it had even happened, because the accomplishment felt so great on so many different layers that it was like, man, I can't believe that this even happened. And I don't, it'll be really, really hard to replace that moment for me in general. But all in all, definitely Transformers, Transformers and WoW, both of those things. The fact that they were both in Philadelphia, I guess holds a lot of good weight too, which is really sweet. We're really good at defending the home turf.
That's true. That's true. Sleep in our own bed.
Right? Yeah, man. Well, I didn't even sleep in my own bed that weekend.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. All right, so this was just a more of a funny question, Scott. Weirdest memories from traveling to events. I know for a fact that you've done a lot of traveling, more than I have, all over the world. So what's a fun little story that you can share with us?
So the weirdest memory was probably when we went to Paris for the second WoW Worlds. So Upper Deck, being the amazing company that they truly are.
Is this the freaking hotel thing?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So there was a qualifier event where basically if you won the qualifier event, you got a it was called the Realm Championship. You got a full paid hotel for the World Championship. So, and I actually think it was like the top 2 or top 4 even got the hotels. So Upper Deck, in its infinite wisdom, decided that, well, obviously the players that all took top 4 are going to want to stay together, so we don't need to get enough hotel rooms, because that's clearly how it works, right? Because you don't have teammates, you don't have friends that are going.
Makes no
sense. So we all show up in Paris, and this isn't just affecting us, but they basically have like, oh, you have 2 rooms for like 8 of us, and they're like, yeah, sorry, and we're like, really? Like this is how you're gonna roll?
Like,
so we stuffed 4 people in a Paris hotel room. John, Todd, and I slept together on like, I don't even think it was a queen size bed. I don't even know what size it was.
It's like a double.
Yeah. 2 people were sleeping on the ground that we weren't really teammates with. They both wound up making top 8 of the event. Todd and I still wouldn't give them the bed for the 3rd night. And I just remember that, like, after day 1, it was like so uncomfortable that I just like, I walked outside in like, the shorts I was wearing and like a t-shirt, and like just like walked around Paris, because like I just like couldn't take the heat, and like just sleeping in with another person that's like double bed with 2 people on the floor, and it was just like crazy. And like everybody kept wanting to go to the same bad like American restaurant every night. And so on the last night, like after the tournament was over, like me, Tada, and another one of our teammates and his girlfriend are like, we are not going to just hang out with these people any longer. So we just went to like the Eiffel Tower at night. Like people were like, let's go draft. I'm like, no, let's go see Paris.
Yeah, right.
Like, so like we went and saw the Eiffel Tower and went to like a real French restaurant. And like, I mean, we were only like, this was probably like 10 or 15 years ago. So like, it was the first time I had been to Paris. I've been there since, but like, it was just really cool to like play at a obviously high level event, but also get to experience the city with friends at the same time. So, and it was just a crazy time in general.
So. Yeah, I remember. I specifically remember Tada telling that story because I think he was way more angry about it than you were, of course. Yeah, that was
deck than me too. Although I guess I made the deck that won, right? So I mean,
oh yeah, that was the Kills Worlds.
He was one of the ones on the floor, by the way.
I was unaware of that. I didn't know who was in the room. Now I do. That's cool. I think for me, it was. I have a good feeling that Anthony's going to get a good laugh out of this one, but I think it's going to have to be DMF Orlando,
In the
where
ghetto hotel.
what?
When you stayed in that ghetto hotel?
We stayed in that super ghetto hotel. Yeah, it was real ghetto. It was like across the street from Universal, which I guess was cool. But yeah, no, it was super ghetto. But the worst of it was there one night, Will, I don't even remember what we had for dinner. We had something for dinner. It did not work for Will. And like the entire night, we're all sleeping, and Will he's literally in the bathroom the entire night. And he's just like yelling at us because like we ran out of toilet paper at like 2 in the morning. And apparently he took like 7 showers that night because no one would got him toilet paper. And it was like we were the worst friends that night. And I think we were all just miserable and tired because we all did so very poorly in the event. But yeah, no, it's definitely had to be that trip. The other shout out would ironically be at Gen Con, where we did not poison Will. We had like this. It was probably the first time I ever had a B&B. I don't even remember. I don't even remember who booked the hotel.
The Airbnb. I booked the Airbnb.
No. This is before us. This is before Transformers.
Okay.
And it was like me, Anthony, Will, Brian, and our buddy Chuck. You remember Chuck, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Chuck was a character. That's the best I can say in all honesty. He was a character, and like the Chuck, yeah, the one night he just like walks out and he's just like, in his towel, and we're just all like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, what's going on? And like, yeah, that was just a weird experience because I don't think I'd ever stayed in a B&B before. So that was like a life-changing moment because I used to travel for a living. So I'm like, wow, can't believe I spent all this time in hotels and we can do this stuff.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, what do I go to a hotel for? It's the same price for B&B. It's insanity.
Gen Con hotel block? Like, no, I'll get an Airbnb.
Gen Con hotel block. Yeah, okay. No problem. You guys enjoy. I will not be there. I will not be there. I will sleep in my own bed. Thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, traveling it's easily one of my favorite parts of the game. The camaraderie. The last time we went to Gen Con, we did not drive. We are driving this time because airfare is obnoxious as hell.
Just not convenient.
It's not. It's super inconvenient. But yeah, I mean, I love travel. You always have some of the fun stories that always comes along, and even us, I know we've had a lot of fun times. I can think of one of your worst moments, but we don't need to get into that.
Hey.
It involves a trip to Origins in which I was not in the car.
Oh yeah, terrible.
But yeah, I think I always love that. I think it's one of the more favorite things to do, especially like when you're with your team, with your friends, traveling to events, and nowadays at our ages in life, we never have the availability. Like even Gen Con's like a once a year thing, if that for us. The year that we had Transformers, we definitely had a bit of an uptick of it, but we only had a year of that because then the pandemic stopped everyone from doing everything forever. Not true, but all in all, I love travel. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm definitely looking forward to doing it again. Gen Con's really exciting. Miami is still a maybe. Still need to hear some information about it, but we'll see. And then who knows? Who knows what comes after that, right? PAX Unplugged is coming. You guys can come here and say hi to us.
Yeah.
I assume there'll be Lorcana there, so I mean, I'll be there either way.
I'll be there with Lorcana regardless.
Scott won't be, but I'll be there either way.
I will be. I'll be there for Lorcana.
We'll see. We tried to get Scott there the last couple years. He didn't come. He didn't even come.
I'm not going to go nowhere. I wasn't going to go.
You didn't even come to dinner, man. You didn't even come to dinner.
I hate driving to the city. I'm not a fan, to be honest with you.
That's true. Shout out to Just Ink It. We did meet at Origins. We played Transformers together, obviously. Anthony, Miami Con. I'll share the link in a minute here, but it's a convention that is being sponsored for Lorcana, but we have no information about it other than the artists that are participating. We don't really know any OP or anything going on exactly yet, so hard to weigh the options of if it's a worth it trip or not yet. So we'll see. Hopefully we get a lot more information coming up soon. I think the pre-orders are about to end on that. Yeah, PAX Unplugged's a blast. There's no doubt about it, Clayton. A lot of fun. All right, so what do I have next here?
What more could I ask?
Oh, that's right. So this is a pretty good one in general, but what continues to drive you to becoming a better player or influencer in the TCG community?
Legacy.
Legacy.
Yeah.
So what about Legacy? Let's expand on that.
On the community, because it's done so much for me.
Okay. Not like trading card games in general.
Yeah, trading card games in general.
Yeah.
And I mean, I basically have told you that I played Magic since its origins. So like,
literally,
if I can pass anything on to what I've learned over time and what it's done, what trading card games in general have done for me, both from a strategy perspective, helping me train my mind, but just trying to leave something behind in terms of that stuff. So that's what drives me to keep going.
That's fair.
Without getting too emotional. Yeah.
Nah, I mean, it's not really about getting emotional or anything like that. It's just a matter of, I remember during the pandemic when we were making cards for Transformers, when we kind of like took the reins and became less players and more designers, there was like just a point in where I'm just like, man, like what is truly driving me to do this? Like, why do I feel the necessity to continue this game and continue utilizing, honestly, like the skills that I've gained in my lifetime to best help this community, etc. And a lot of it just came down to, I've always found a love for trading card games. I've always been committed to them. I've always, I found, friends that have lasted a lifetime for me in them. And like, it's always given me something. So I've always felt the need to give back to it when I can. And specifically with Transformers, because, winning the Intercontinental Invitational was such an accomplishment to me that I felt that I had to attempt to give everything to it. And for a long time I did. With Disney Lorcana now, it's a lot of this game, is really sculpted from the memories of World of Warcraft. So even to the point where like we have friends from World of Warcraft that we haven't shared games with in, 12, 13 years at this point that are going to be at Gen Con, that are playing in the events that I've had communication with, and they're even more excited. So like that connection that drew me back in was honestly the day that the rules were released for Lorcana. I was just like, wow, this is really familiar territory. I have a lot of knowledge in this type of gameplay. I obviously have a bit of a track record that can show that like I am committed to playing at the highest levels, and I feel that I'm able to help people also do that want that, that want that experience, that want to compete at the highest levels, to be most prepared, like all these things that we do on honestly an everyday basis, which sounds crazy to some people, but even today in like a 2-hour span, the conversation just around one card that's an everyday conversation for Scott and I, because that's just where we are. It's how we connect. It's how we connect with the community. It's how we connect with the Discord that's been growing for 4 or 5 years now. Like the trading card games has been such a huge factor of my life, and I just want to give back to it in every which way I can. And I think that's what really drives me, is that the ability for me to to just kind of continue on and pay it forward in a way of, I'm sure that there's a kid just like me at the age of 10, 11 years old that's going to see Disney Lorcana for the first time. And like, this maybe is their first game and it's their first love. And we live in a completely different world than we did, 20 years ago when I played, because like, obviously there was no YouTube. There was no, even at that time, like websites were scarce, right? Like, so now being in this world and having this ability to go to a game store, set up Disney Lorcana and show the game to more people, teach more people. That's really what my goals are. It's really what drives me right now, is just passing on everything that I've gained and giving people the opportunities that I've had in my lifetime because of trading card games. So that's definitely what drives me. I didn't mean to get all sentimental or any there.
No, it's fine. Just like me. All good.
All right. So this is our last one for us that I put in here. So what is the one thing you enjoy most about Disney Lorcana? And yes, I put Grab the Sword on here because it was just fitting, right?
Um, right now, I think I just enjoy like exploring it, and I like the fact that it's close enough to other games, but subtly different enough that I can use my skills from other games I've played that are similar and apply them in theory towards this, and then like improve upon them and see where the similarities lie, and just finding those different. Um, and you know, it's cool to be able to already play games on third party platforms and things like that, and to really, it's cool to be. I've never been into it this much this early. Like I
Right. So
might
like
have
for
been like
Transformers, you were like,
I had a website like that I created like the week before the game came out, but it wasn't like, but it was basically just like looking at cards and like analyzing them. Basically myself. I think maybe with Vince. No, I met Vince after. I didn't see Vince until afterwards. We didn't start our podcast together until afterwards. So it was basically just me and Palmer playing around, but not like pre the game existing. So this is like taking it like way earlier than anything else I've been involved in.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, like I think when the rules came out, there was what 50 cards, 55 cards, maybe.
Yeah, I remember at one point there was like a list of 63, so it'd be right
So
after
maybe,
that.
so maybe somewhere around there. So
Like
we've
when
experienced,
when those starters came out, I think it was 63, but maybe
or the
not.
demos or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, so maybe like now that we've experienced like 50 reveals, which is crazy to think about too, because we're used to doing this, in set twos or set threes or something like that.
Yeah.
But now we're, like you said, like I was not there for the beginning of Transformers. I was obviously not there for any of the other games that I said. I was there. We were there for the start of Destiny, but we didn't do content for Destiny, and like I don't even remember like following it all like that, if I'm being honest. Like I remember just like the game came out, I bought boxes, and then we like started playing. But like I don't even remember anything after that. But we did do content for Destiny, so I wasn't as invested anyway. It's really interesting already having the ability to play the game and make these interesting decision points even now, because the truth about it is you get to this point where every week, we're getting new cards, and obviously there's always going to be changes and changes and changes. But when we go to like a game, if you come into a game on day one and you just pick it up and it's 204 cards and you've never played a single game with it, it's so easy to be like, oh, this card's really good. And then like waste a week on it. I feel like we're getting those weeks out of the way, like we're already establishing cards that are like not going to be in the meta, right? Like they're not going to be competitive cards. They're going to be in the game. They're going to be played. They'll be in limited if there is a format, which I'm sure there will be. But like they're not going to be these impactful cards, and you're going to already know that going in. You're going to know like the pack of uninkable cards that I'm like, okay, well here's all the uninkables, but like I already know that there's no chance I'm going to play these ones. So like going through that, getting those reps in early, and even having the conversation about it, I think does a lot for the mind and prepares you. And that this is all just tracks back to how like we operate as professional trading card game players in general, is that we do break down and analyze every single thing that comes out. And yes, this time it is a little bit earlier on, but it is one of those things where like every moment, every day, we're just gaining more information about the game, and we're easily gonna get to the point where like when we're in August, we're gonna be like, okay, well, like these are probably the best decks already, and we're already halfway there. What are we at, like 106 or 7 cards now after the last couple of days reveals?
Sounds about right. Yeah,
there's still 100 cards left, right? Like the game still has every opportunity to change upside down. There's no debate there. But it's really cool to like get an understanding now, and honestly, just playing the game at a base level and understanding the core difference of mechanic to win the game is a huge difference than honestly most games I played. Like, I understand people can look at it and go, oh, it's just Magic because there's 20 life, and like make this like really broad, simple comparison, and it just couldn't be more wrong. So, like, not trying to be mean to anybody here, I'm just being honest. While a lot of the numbers look alike, all the mechanics change a lot of the information and a lot of the way the games are played out. And yes, we're still missing a ton of super impactful cards, I hope, because the last couple weeks of just seeing the Steel Impact is great. I imagine it would have been like when Mickey Mouse and Maleficent were first released. If you knew the rules of the game, you'd be like, wow, these cards are insane. It would be just like that. But now we're getting it 3 months later with like actual mechanics and already able to play 100 games a day if we wanted to. So I agree. I think it's really cool for us to do that, like start here, get that basis level, and even just like helping ourselves like better understand the game to better, deliver the information in all honesty. So the other thing that for me that I really, really love about the game as like my one true thing is songs. I think the song mechanic is just so very interesting that it's different from so many. Like I tried the other day to like really pinpoint something that I could compare it to, and like the closest thing is like Evoke from Magic, I guess.
I mean, there's like Force of Wills and things. Like there are other ways in card games to
ways to like utilize resource manipulation. Yes.
Yeah.
But Evoke or not Evoke, Convoke, I think Convoke. I think that's like one of the closer ways to do it, and it's similar, but you almost always still have to pay something because of like a resource, whatever it is. So like that's the closest thing I can come to, and even that, the scale of it doesn't feel the same. Because like the impact of a friend's on the other side on turn 3 is just so great. And the impact of I haven't played a game yet with it yet, but I'm sure the impact of grab your sword is going to be really good when you literally just turn your Cerebros sideways and say nuke your board. I can't fathom of a better way to utilize my Cerebros on turn 6. I can tell you that much. So yeah, I think songs are so fun. They're so incredible. They're so powerful, and it's almost scary to think how powerful they are because it makes like removal even more impactful because now you're just like, oh, now I might want to remove this card earlier because so my opponent can't get the extra value out of it. Like a card like Maleficent, it's like, oh yeah, it replaced itself, but it's like, man, am I supposed to just fire the cannons that because he's just going to tap it and draw 2 cards? Like, Stitch is another one. Now, obviously, he has other problems now, but we had a game a couple weeks ago where like I played a 1-drop Stitch and you fire the cannons it, and then I played another Stitch and then you fire the cannons it. I'm just like, okay, like this, my whole plan just sucks. Like, great. So yeah, I mean, the role they're gonna play in like the strategy of the game is so fun and so intriguing and just so different that I'm really, really excited for songs in general.
Cool.
But yeah. So let's move to get rid of this. We have a couple. We have a couple viewer questions on Twitter. If anyone has any questions here, feel free to drop them. But we have the Lorcana Carpool, and Lorcana Carpool asks, "How are you going to organize your collection? Binders, by set number, ink, alphabetical, movie." Scott, how you gonna organize your cards, bro? Can you turn off your overlay and just point the camera this way?
I have one of those card sorters down there.
Yeah. One. He's probably got 3 of them.
No, just one. It's only one set. So my actual collection that I keep and like look at, so it's probably gonna be mostly foils, and play with. I'm gonna keep in one of my ultimate guards that I have over there. I'm gonna keep that in ultimate guard binders, assuming that I don't get like them graded or something like that.
Okay, sure.
It will go. The stuff I actually collect will go in, I assume, set order. which is color then alphabetical.
Yes.
Now, all my other cards that I do other things with will be pure alphabetical, because that's the way TCG Player likes it.
This isn't true. We just need another door. That's all.
I've already cleaned out portions of this giant thing I got at IKEA for, like, I already have 2 whole shelves dedicated to keeping Lorcana cards.
Well,
and then I have a second desk that'll have the way to sort, and then I have all these Disney 100 sleeves on the floor right now that'll have to go away at some point.
Shout out. We got to give them away soon. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. So yeah, I'll do probably exactly what you do.
And then decks. I'll have my decks together.
Like, the real truth is that most of my cards, when they are, quote, in order, are just going to be in a deck box, like in the same color sleeve of all of my decks, and I'll just interchange them. And I will never truly have a real collection aside from that, except for like specific foils that I'll target because I'm like a Frozen geek, but that's all besides the point. All right, so back to our questions over here. We have, what is the best ink to pair steel with, Scott? I don't even think we need to spend much time on this.
At this point, I would assume Amethyst or Ruby.
Yeah, it seems real hard not to. Yeah, Amethyst is real good. More draw power for more really, really powerful cards is great. And Ruby having infinite ways to single target and AoE down with steel also seems pretty good. So
I think the ways that you have now just allows you to. So we haven't gotten a lot of card draw out of Ruby, or out of steel. I don't think we will get out of steel, but like out of Ruby,
Beast Mirror or die.
Right. So the stuff that steel is providing, I think, by not playing cards early, which I haven't been doing for months now, will just allow you to get all the cards you want in your inkwell. Because like once you hit the late game, Ruby is like, if you can get to the late game while your opponent is still stuck in the mid game because they either choose to be there or they just can't get out of it, like the Ruby end game is just ridiculous. So a lot of these steel cards will allow you to get there. So
having Tink and this and grab your sword, like that combination of cards making so many early games just so invaluable and just like meaningless at the end of the day. Like if you catch an opponent with like this literal Regeki for all my Yu-Gi-Oh fans out there.
Yes. Wrath of God for all you.
It's not Wrath. It's better than Wrath of God. It's Regeki, man. Right. Like it's insanity.
That's right.
It's insane.
It was a magic one, I think, eventually.
I don't know.
It costs like 9 or something.
It's Pyroclasm on crack. So like
Pyroclasm hit both sides of the board too.
Right, which is why it's on crack. So yeah, I don't know. Really, really difficult. Really, really difficult. Yeah, it's Amethyst or Ruby is my my guess. Scotland Thompson hitting with the thoughts on the legendary cards compared to the 6-cost bangers. I mean, I think the only legendary that's like really bad is Gontu, right? We covered this last week, but they're still good cards, right? They're still playable cards. Like obviously they're not Tinkerbell, like, you know, like.
That's I love Maleficent 9-drop. I always have.
She's good.
So I mean, to me, I think she actually has gained a lot of value off of these cards that have come out because they just slows the game down to a point where she can dominate the board.
Right.
And I mean, Beast is still fine.
Right.
I mean, he's a little bit worse than like other options just because of his cost, and I don't really care about. I mean, I guess this song is a way to actually activate his quote secondary ability of exerting characters like more regularly than even Tinkerbell.
Right.
Because you can do it all in the same turn if you have another 5-drop in play. So like you mentioned like Tab Cerberus, play this song, and then Beast, whatever's there. If somehow there's still guys alive, I don't really know how. But like that's gonna be like. I think this card over Tinkerbell allows his secondary ability to actually matter. So I would say that like that's probably a good use. And I stand by I still think there's only going to be 7 legendaries, but we'll see.
I think it's possible. It also is just as likely that they're
12
saving like literal 6 of them the week of Gen Con, and they're just going to spit them all out of us. Like just as like the extra layer of hype that they definitely don't even need, but like it can happen. So the question from the wife, guys, is there a tournament in Disneyland or Disney World, and can I come? So we actually talked about this a couple weeks ago on the second episode of the podcast with our friends, the Illuminateers, and what was the game that had like World Championship there, Scott?
It was that Magic the Gathering game.
Oh, that's right.
International championships there.
International, yeah, there you go. Yeah. So it's definitely possible that
they've converted the Wide World of Sports stadiums to card game before. In fact, if you ever watch Magic on ESPN, a lot of those were at Wide World of Sports.
I did not, but that's interesting. I was unaware of that.
Because it was owned by Disney ABC, so like they would have it there.
So the answer is it's absolutely possible, and it's
probable, in my opinion.
It's absolutely flavorful, and I won't be shocked.
If it's not there specifically, it'll be in the Orlando area.
Right.
And so like there's like the Orlando Convention Center is relatively new, like within the last 10 years. And I know like since my dad lives there, like I know he says it's like really nice for having conventions and stuff. So like it wouldn't, I mean, I know like third party events will also happen in Orlando, even if
well, yeah, well, Pro Play Games is based out of Miami, so and they've already they hosted an event in Orlando, right? That's where it was when we went down there.
Yeah, it was like on the outskirts, but
right, and that was in like
whatever the hell that was. I don't
remember. It was like I don't know what that was. It wasn't a hotel.
No, it was like a hall, I guess. I don't know what you would like. I don't know what it really is used for. Rodeo? I don't even know. It was a school, like wasn't it like a college or something? Like it was near a college.
Well, it might have been a university. Maybe you're right.
Okay.
I forget. I'd have to go back and retrace my steps. But yeah,
that was before. Was like literally days before COVID.
No, but it was the day that Kobe Bryant died. R.I.P.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Kobe Bryant. That was a sad moment that day. We were all like, what? Like we were all standing around like Kobe does. Like, we all thought it was a joke. It's like no, like it's not a joke. Like he died. Like oh, shit. So yeah, that was real close to pandemic keeping us all inside for sure.
So if it's not specifically and it would be at Wide World of Sports because I don't think that Downtown Disney has the area set up to do it. So if it was not specifically at Wide World of Sports, it would be somewhere else because they have such influence in the convention center like that. So,
that's for that. So. This is a noteworthy comment right here. So Ready Set Draw says this new song certainly helps me understand why Tremaine only has one lore. High lore Tremaine with this song alone would have been nuts. Yeah, that's hard to argue. She's not a bad option to kind of sing this one and rotate it out. And yeah, that seems really good. That's fine. That's pretty good too. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. And like I said, with PPG being in Miami or, in the Florida and he travels a bunch, like it wouldn't shock me if there's definitely something going on there. But we already have Miami Con, so we already have a reason to go to Florida this year. If it all works out. So yeah, I already did this part. Hold please. Get rid of that. We need this back. If there's any more questions in the chat, feel free to hit us up. Otherwise, we have a couple more minutes on stream here, but if you're not yet, hit the subscribe button. And I do have a specific question this week for you guys if you didn't make it all the way out here. I need a guest next week because Scott's leaving me for Jamaica. So since Scott is leaving me for Jamaica, right? I'm just kidding, guys. He is going to Jamaica. I need a guest next week. So if you want to be a guest, your CC, hit me up, message me on Twitter, message me on Discord, whichever. Let me know. Let's have a conversation next week so you can join in live and we can have a great conversation like we did this one. Kylie, you're not allowed to be a guest now. I'm going to get kicked in the shins for that one, guys. But yeah, so in closing, Scott, let's say, what we got the Eels this week, right? We got the giant King Triton today. They're not nearly as impactful as obviously this song. But do you think I've watched some gameplay with the Eels. I've been mostly underwhelmed. Have you had any other different experiences with them?
I haven't experienced myself with them.
I haven't played them yet, but I've watched games with them.
To me, and I mean we'll cover this later in the week, but
SWOT announcement coming this week, guys.
I don't think they're very playable on their own. You have to have both, which makes it really difficult because I think that I even think together, like they're not.
They're like mediocre at best, right?
I mean, a 3-4 evasive rush is pretty good, and a 3-3 evasive rush is fine. Like it doesn't trade with neither of them trade with Goofy, so it's like, what are you really getting out of the deal here?
You get to kill Pongo.
That's not hard to do.
You get to kill Pongo. that's all I got.
But then, you
get to kill Rafiki and live. I don't know. You don't even kill Zeus. Like you don't even kill Zeus.
Like 3-3 evasive with one lore is fine.
Yes,
I don't think it'll make the cut. And the 3-4 rush, it's just uninkable. So there's clearly no room for that card.
In a world where we have sideboards, I think they have a home there. I find it really hard for me to want to ink that card though. So we'll close on this one, Scott. What is your favorite card so far, regardless of how strong it is?
Maleficent Monstrous Dragon.
She is so good.
No doubt.
So good.
I just remember as a kid, loving that scene when she becomes the dragon.
Yeah.
And, the fact that she is a Necrotal, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
So, Flame Tongue Kabu, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, Flame Tongue Kabu. He's getting a little excited over here, guys.
However old you want me to get, I just think that I love playing control decks, and she seems like the perfect way to. I mean, she only has 2 lore, which we've come to find out is pretty much the standard in how you want to get a card to be a threat.
Yeah, 6 and up. It's if you don't have 2 lore, you better be doing something.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So it's between she's probably my favorite card, but I also really really like the 7-drop Aladdin a lot.
Oh yeah, Prince Ali, right?
No, that's the 2.
No, that's the bad one. That's the really bad one.
The outlaw.
Yeah.
Those two are my favorite cards because they just, if you can get to them, and I think there's many more ways to do it now, they just cause a different board state for your opponent to have to react to.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Race to Draw and BLT. A, because the art is great. B, because he's still, when he's in play, he's really goddamn good, guys.
He's won games recently, yeah.
Sure. Debatable about how many copies you're going to need him, et cetera, but the card, it requires an answer or you just win the game in most cases. Sure. So any card like that is great. For me, I think it's still going to have to be, Let It Go. I mostly, again, because I'm a total Frozen geek, until Anna comes out and she's hopefully at least playable, or a new Elsa that can sing Let It Go, then that is...
We know there's another Elsa coming.
There's very likely another Elsa. I would be shocked if we got all of these other Frozen characters and not Anna. That would be such a letdown for me. But hopefully that one comes too. So it has been a wonderful and fun evening hanging out with you guys. Thank you guys so much for being in chat tonight. If you're not, hit the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments what some of your favorite card memories are, and if you're a content creator and you checked out this podcast, hit me up. Let me know what's driving you guys to be CCs, and we will catch you guys next week. Not Scott; he'll be in Jamaica. It'll be me and someone else, but we'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.